Welcome to another deep dive, and this one is going to be really fascinating, I think.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one.
So, you send over that interview with Oscar Grillo,
Right.
and I read it, and wow.
Yeah, it's
I mean, his whole perspective on animation, especially in advertising, it's really thought-provoking.
what I found really striking is just how much of what he says is still so relevant today. And this interview is from 1998.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
So, like pre-digital boom.
Totally. It's like a time
It
cap.
is a time capsule.
But it makes you wonder if, like, the core challenges of the industry haven't really changed that much.
Yeah, that's a great question.
I mean, okay, Grillo, he started animating in 1960, worked all over the globe.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's resume is stacked.
Yeah, he's done a lot.
But it's so interesting to me that his real love seems to be for short-form animation, particularly commercials.
Yeah.
He even says in the interview, shorter is better than longer.
Yeah, he does.
Why do you think he gravitates towards that format?
Well, he does mention that his patience is very limited, but I think it's got to be deeper than that. Like, I
Yeah.
think he thrives on the constant challenge of distilling a message into its purest, most potent form.
Yeah?
It's like every commercial is like a mini explosion of creativity.
I love that. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about, like, the creative constraints of a commercial.
Right.
It's almost like working within a haiku, right? You have
Yeah.
to be so precise, so economical with your storytelling.
Totally. Every frame has to count.
Yeah.
But Grillo is not afraid to make some bold statements.
No, he's not.
He calls animation and advertising the children's ghetto,
Yeah.
which, might seem kind of harsh at first.
Yeah.
But I think it reveals a real frustration with how the art form is often perceived and utilized.
Totally. And he doesn't mince words when he's describing the state of children's advertising.
No, he does not.
Calling it banal and lacking in sophistication, even an insult to children.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's so passionate about this particular issue?
I think it goes beyond just a simple critique of bad commercials. I think Grillo is grappling with the larger implications for animation as a whole.
Right.
When the majority of exposure to animation is through these low-effort product-pushing messages,
Yeah.
it kind of reinforces the misconception that animation is only for kids.
Which is such a limiting view,
It is.
because he argues that animation has this unique power in advertising that live action just can't replicate.
Right.
He's saying amidst a sea of live action commercials, an animated one instantly stands out.
For sure.
It's like a visual jolt to the system.
Absolutely. And animation offers so much control.
Yeah.
You can create these fantastical worlds. These characters play with visual style and humor in ways that you just can't in live action.
It's like you can create this heightened reality and tap into this different part of the viewer's imagination.
Totally.
And when you combine that power with the conciseness of the commercial format, it becomes like this potent little package of creativity.
Right. And I think that kind of explains Grillo's affinity for short form animation.
Okay.
Like the constraints of the format actually amplify the impact of the animation.
Yeah.
There's no need for like lengthy explanations or exposition. The visuals and the humor can do the heavy lifting.
So how does he envision this creative process ideally?
Right.
Because he talks a lot about collaboration, which seems to be very important to him.
It does.
What does that collaboration look like in his mind?
He paints this picture of this true partnership between the animators and the ad agency creatives.
Okay.
It's not just about the animators like executing someone else's vision.
Right.
They're involved from the very beginning,
Yeah.
helping to shape the concept, exploring all the possibilities that animation offers.
It sounds like a dream team scenario where everyone's bringing their expertise to the table,
Right.
bouncing ideas off each other.
Exactly.
But I get the sense that reality often falls short of this ideal.
You're absolutely right. He laments that animators are often brought in as an afterthought,
Yeah.
expected to animate these predetermined ideas that might not even be suitable for the medium.
And the worst case scenario,
Right.
clients meddling in artistic decisions.
Oh, yeah.
He actually says, imagine someone telling me what color our background should be.
Oh, I can only imagine how frustrating that would be.
That's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, it's that classic struggle between art and commerce. And it's something that so many creatives face.
Yeah.
The client is often very focused on the bottom line,
Right.
might not always understand or appreciate the nuances of animation.
Yeah, it's like asking a chef to change the recipe based on your personal taste.
Exactly.
Sometimes it just doesn't work.
It just doesn't work.
It makes you wonder how much brilliance is lost because of those kinds of clashes.
It's a good question.
It raises the issue of artistic compromise.
Yeah,
How do you balance the client's needs with your own vision?
right.
Where do you draw the line?
It's like navigating a minefield. You want to deliver a product that everyone's happy with, but you also don't want to sacrifice your integrity as an artist.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot where creative vision and commercial viability intersect.
Right.
And it's definitely not always easy.
It's not.
So to shift gears a bit,
Okay.
let's talk about some of Grillo's animation heroes.
Okay.
He mentions John Hubley, a pioneer of TV commercials, worked on classics like Mr. Magoo.
Right.
What drew Grillo to Hubley's work, do you think?
Well, Hubley was part of this legendary studio called UPA,
Okay.
and they really revolutionized animation in the 1950s.
Interesting.
They moved away from the Disney style of realism and embraced a more graphic, stylized approach.
Okay.
They weren't afraid to experiment, they pushed the boundaries of storytelling, and it makes sense that Grillo, who seems to value innovation and challenging conventions,
Yeah.
would be drawn to that.
And Grillo's all-time favorite animated work is Hubley's Rudy Toot Toot from 1951.
Oh, yeah?
Have you seen it?
I have.
What's it like?
It's fascinating. It's a really interesting example of what's called limited animation, where they used fewer drawings per second to achieve this more stylized, almost abstract look.
Mm.
And the story's really interesting, too. It's like a murder ballad told through animation.
Wow.
With this whimsical yet slightly dark undertone, you can definitely see echoes of that visual style in some of Grillo's own work.
It's amazing how animation can tell such a wide range of stories.
Yeah.
From silly slapstick to more serious, thought-provoking narratives.
Totally. And that versatility is one of the things that makes animation such a compelling art form.
Yeah.
It can transcend language and cultural barriers, connecting with audiences on this purely visual and emotional level.
Now let's get back to the nuts and bolts of animation a little bit.
Okay.
Because Grillo really emphasizes the importance of timing, especially when it comes to commercials.
Right.
He even says timing is the key to the commercial.
Yeah, it goes back to that idea of brevity and impact. You have this very limited window to capture the viewer's attention.
Yeah.
So every frame, every beat has to be meticulously crafted. Overloading a commercial with too much action or information can actually dilute its power.
He uses a great analogy to illustrate this point.
He does.
He talks about driving past a billboard on the motorway.
Yes.
You only have a split second to absorb that message.
Exactly.
That's such a perfect way to put it.
It is.
It highlights the need for clarity and conciseness.
Right.
The message needs to be distilled to its essence, like a visual haiku.
Like a visual haiku. I love that.
And he praises the Canberra commercials animated by the legendary Richard Williams.
Oh, yeah.
That's a perfect example of this principle in action.
Yeah, those commercials were brilliant in their simplicity.
They were.
They had this incredibly catchy jingle, a memorable character, and just enough animation to convey the message without overwhelming the viewer.
And Grillo actually describes them as a symphony.
I love that.
It's like he's recognizing that even within the constraints of a 30-second commercial, you can create something that's both effective and artistically satisfying.
Totally. It's about finding that perfect harmony between message and medium.
Now, speaking of Richard Williams, Grillo seems to have a bit of a love-hate relationship with him.
He does.
He admires his talent and influence, but...
But he does mention that Williams is occasionally disliked
Okay.
and a difficult person.
Yeah.
He also acknowledges that Williams's work on Who Framed Roger Rabbit was groundbreaking
Yeah.
in terms of its technical achievements.
Yeah.
But he says that he dislikes it intensely.
Wow. That's quite a statement.
It is.
Why such a strong reaction, do you think?
Well, it seems to come down to Grillo's purist view of animation.
Okay.
He's not a fan of combining live action and animation.
Huh.
He even compares it to like a mythical creature that's half man, half horse, half lion, ultimately nothing.
Okay.
He seems to believe that animation should stand on its own without relying on other mediums for its impact.
It's fascinating because in a way he's critiquing the very thing that made Roger Rabbit so popular.
Right.
That seamless blending of those two worlds.
Exactly.
It highlights the subjective nature of art, right?
It really doesn't.
What one person finds brilliant, another might find distasteful.
Yeah, and it reminds us that even within a specific field like animation, there can be vastly different views on what constitutes good or bad.
Right.
There's no single right answer.
So if blending live action and animation is no-go for Grillo,
Right.
what about the advancements in computer animation?
Yeah.
How does he view the rise of CGI?
He makes a distinction between computer animation used for visual effects, like in Jurassic Park,
Okay.
and computer animation used for character animation, like in Toy Story.
Interesting.
He praises Toy Story for being groundbreaking,
Okay.
for its use of CGI to create believable, emotionally resonant characters.
Right.
But he's less enthusiastic about CGI when it's used primarily for spectacle.
It reveals his deep understanding of the different applications of animation.
Yeah.
He recognizes that while CGI can create stunning visuals and spectacle,
Right.
it's the ability to bring characters to life with emotion and personality that truly elevates animation to an art form.
For sure.
And that brings us to Grillo's own process of creating those memorable characters.
Yeah.
He emphasizes the importance of understanding their identity, their essence.
Right.
He even talks about thinking about a character's voice, like imagining someone like Walter Matthau, for example,
Oh,
to
yeah.
get a sense of their personality, even if the character doesn't physically resemble the actor at all.
Right.
That's such an interesting approach.
It is.
It's like finding the soul of the character before you even start drawing.
Exactly. It's about tapping into those human qualities that make a character relatable and believable,
Yeah.
regardless of their outward appearance.
And he takes this even further when talking about animating a monster for Men in Black.
Oh, yes.
He describes how the animators were getting bogged down in technical jargon,
Right.
discussing bytes and exabytes while working on the monster.
Yeah.
And Grillo, in his typical straightforward style,
Yeah.
tells them to just think of the monster as Robert De Niro.
Think of the guy. Are you talking to me, eh?
It's such a brilliant and funny way to get the animators to think about the character's motivation and personality.
It is.
It's a great reminder that even when dealing with fantastical creatures,
Right.
the key to believable animation is finding those relatable human qualities.
For sure.
So we've talked about timing, character development, the importance of collaboration.
Right.
But Grillo also has some very pointed criticisms about a certain type of client,
He refers to them as the Panama School of Clients.
the Panama School.
Yeah, referencing a notorious school for torturers.
Oh, wow.
It's his tongue-in-cheek way of describing those clients who are more interested in flexing their power than in creating truly great advertising.
Okay, so who are these Panama School clients?
Right.
What makes them so terrible to work with?
They're the clients who come in with preconceived notions,
Okay.
dictating every detail, stifling creativity, and ultimately undermining the potential of the project.
Got it.
They might be more concerned with their ego or their perceived control than with the quality of the final product.
It sounds like they're the antithesis of that collaborative ideal that Grillo values so much.
Yeah.
It's like they're approaching animation as a purely transactional process,
Right.
rather than a creative partnership.
Totally. And that brings us to perhaps Grillo's most insightful point.
Okay.
This concept of a delicate obligation to the viewer.
He's really passionate about this idea, isn't he?
He is.
What does this obligation entail?
Well, it's about acknowledging that commercials are inherently intrusive.
Okay.
We haven't asked to see them. They're interrupting our chosen entertainment.
Right.
And because of that, Grillo believes that creatives have a duty to make those interruptions worthwhile.
So it's not just about selling a product.
No.
It's about respecting the viewer's time and intelligence.
Exactly. It's about offering something of value, whether it's a moment of humor, a stunning visual, or a thought-provoking message.
It's like he's introducing this ethical dimension to advertising,
is.
which is something we don't often think about.
No, we don't.
And it's particularly relevant to animation, which has the potential to be so engaging and captivating,
Right.
but also incredibly annoying
Yes.
if done poorly or without consideration for the viewer.
Absolutely.
It makes me think about those commercials that just make you cringe.
Right?
The ones that are loud and obnoxious, and they completely forget that there's a human being on the other side of the screen.
Totally. Grillo's perspective challenges us to reevaluate how we approach advertising,
Yeah.
to consider its impact on the viewer,
Right.
and to strive for a higher standard of quality and respect.
So to recap, we've delved into Oscar Grillo's unique perspective on animation,
Right.
from his love of short form to his strong criticisms of the industry.
Right.
But before we go deeper into some of the technical aspects of his work, let's pause for a moment.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll explore Grillo's thoughts on simplicity timing and the evolution of animation in an ever-changing world.
Sounds good.
I'm excited to keep going with this.
Me too.
This is really interesting.
It is fascinating stuff.
All right, we'll be back in a moment.
It's interesting, because Grillo draws this parallel between commercials and posters.
Yeah, I was struck by that too. He uses the example of a billboard like whizzing by on the motorway.
Right. You only have that split second to get the message.
Exactly.
And he argues that same principle applies to animation, especially in commercials.
Yeah.
He criticizes those who try to cram way too much into a 30-second spot.
Right.
He compares it to trying to do the Sistine Chapel in animation.
What a visual.
I know.
It really drives home the point about the need for clarity and focus.
Yeah,
He
absolutely.
can't convey the grandeur of like a masterpiece in a fleeting moment.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like the modern landscape of short form video content online.
Oh, totally.
We're bombarded with so much visual information these days,
Constantly.
scrolling through TikToks and Instagram reels.
Yeah.
I wonder what Grillo would make of it all.
Yeah, no, me too.
He might have a field day analyzing those 5-second unskippable ads on YouTube.
Oh, absolutely. Imagine his Panama School of clients trying to navigate the complexities of algorithms and targeted advertising.
Oh my gosh. It's like the challenges he faced back in the 90s
Yay.
have just been amplified in the digital age.
Totally.
But amidst all the noise,
Yeah.
his emphasis on simplicity and impact feels even more relevant.
I think so too.
It's about cutting through the clutter and delivering a message that resonates.
He actually calls the Cadbury commercials a perfect example of simplicity and impact.
They really are. Those commercials are so ingrained in my memory,
I know.
even though I haven't seen them in years.
Me too.
It's a testament to their effectiveness.
Totally. The animation is so minimal,
Yeah.
but it's so expressive.
Yeah.
The focus is on the character, the catchy jingle, that clear, concise message.
It's like a masterclass in visual storytelling.
It is.
Grillo clearly has a deep understanding of what works,
Yeah,
and he's not afraid to critique even the classics when they fall short of his standards.
that's right. He
Wow.
mentions Who Framed Roger Rabbit again,
He does.
saying that blending live action and animation is like creating a creature that's half man, half horse, half lion,
Right.
but ultimately nothing.
He really prefers animation to stand on its own.
He does.
It's like he sees it as this distinct art form with its own unique set of possibilities and limitations.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because he acknowledges that animation techniques have evolved dramatically over the years,
Yeah.
but he says that the core principles remain the same.
He even says the art of animation hasn't really changed.
Yeah.
What do you think he means by that?
Well, he's talking about the fundamental principles of animation.
Okay.
Like the illusion of movement created through a series of still images.
Right.
Those haven't changed, even though the tools and technology have advanced significantly.
So it's like the difference between handwriting and typing.
Exactly.
The tools have changed, but the essence of communication remains the same.
Right. And he still sees perfection in a film like Pinocchio,
Wow.
which was made back in 1939.
It's incredible how those early animators achieved such fluidity and expressiveness
I know.
with such limited technology.
It's a testament to their artistry and dedication.
Totally.
They were true pioneers pushing the boundaries of what was possible with animation.
But Grillo isn't completely stuck in the past.
No, he's not.
He actually praises the advancements in computer animation,
Right.
particularly in films like Toy Story.
He sees Toy Story as a turning point, a revolutionary film
Yeah.
that showcased the potential of computer-generated imagery to create these believable, emotionally resonant characters.
It's interesting how he distinguishes between CGI used for visual effects,
Right.
like in Jurassic Park,
Yeah.
and CGI used for character animation,
Yes.
like in Toy Story.
It shows his deep understanding of the different applications of animation.
Yeah.
He recognizes that while CGI can create these stunning visuals,
Yeah.
it's the ability to bring characters to life that truly elevates animation to an art form.
And that brings us back to Grillo's own process of creating those memorable characters.
Yes.
You know, he talks about the importance of understanding their identity, their essence.
Yeah, he even uses this example of thinking about a character's voice.
Right.
Like imagining someone like Walter Matthau
Yeah.
to get a sense of their personality, even if the character doesn't physically resemble the actor at all.
It's about finding the soul of the character before you even start drawing.
Totally. He actually compares it to the work of Rembrandt,
Oh.
who was able to convey this sense of immediacy and emotion, even though he painted with oils,
Yeah.
which is this slow and meticulous process.
It's a brilliant connection.
It is.
It speaks to that idea that regardless of the technique or the medium,
Right.
true artistry lies in the ability to capture and communicate those essential human qualities.
Absolutely.
Grillo also shares a funny anecdote about his time working on Men in Black.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember that one?
Of course.
Yeah.
He talks about how the animators were getting bogged down in all this technical jargon,
Yeah.
discussing bytes and exabytes while animating a monster.
Right.
And Grillo, in his blunt style, tells them to just think of the monster as Robert De Niro.
Think of the guy, are you talking to me?
Such a classic Grillo moment.
It's a reminder that even when dealing with fantastical creatures, the
Yeah.
key to believable animation is finding those relatable human qualities.
And totally.
And speaking of believability, Grillo constantly emphasizes the importance of timing.
Oh, he's obsessed with it.
He is.
Not just in the pacing of a commercial,
Yeah.
but in like the broader sense of capturing the right moment
Right.
for a joke or a gesture.
He stresses the importance of not over-animating,
Yeah,
allowing for those moments of stillness and subtlety.
right. It's about finding that balance between precision and spontaneity.
Yeah.
He describes it as making it look spontaneous,
Right.
while still putting in the effort to execute it flawlessly.
It reminds me of that saying, easy reading is damn hard writing.
Totally.
The best animation often appears effortless, but that effortlessness is the result of countless hours
Right,
of meticulous planning and execution.
for sure. And that brings us back to Grillo's critique of animation in advertising.
Yeah.
He's so passionate about elevating the art form,
Yeah.
but he's also realistic about the challenges involved.
Right.
And one of the biggest hurdles he identifies
Yeah.
is this disconnect between animators and advertising agencies.
Okay.
He talks about how agencies often develop concepts without fully understanding the possibilities and the limitations of animation.
It's like they're putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly. And then they bring in the animators as an afterthought,
Yeah.
expecting them to magically execute their preconceived vision.
Right.
Grillo believes that animators should be involved from the very beginning,
Okay.
collaborating with the agency
Yeah.
to ensure that the concept is both strong and adaptable to the medium of animation.
It makes sense.
He uses the word symbiosis
Oh, wow.
to describe this ideal collaboration, everyone working together to create something truly special.
It's a beautiful vision,
It is.
but as Grillo points out, it's often not the reality.
Right. He's encountered plenty of those clients
Yeah.
who are more interested in flexing their power
Right.
than in creating good advertising.
It all comes back to that Panama School mentality.
It does.
Ego and power dynamics often stifling creativity.
Yeah. It's a shame because, as Grillo demonstrates,
Yeah.
when you have that true collaboration,
Right.
when you respect the art form and the viewer,
Yeah.
animation has the potential to be so much more
Yes.
than just a way to sell product.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be this powerful tool for storytelling,
Right.
a way to connect with audiences on an emotional level,
Yeah.
and even to challenge our perceptions of the world.
And Grillo, with his sharp wit and unwavering dedication to his craft,
Yeah,
he embodies that potential.
he does.
But before we wrap up our deep dive into his world,
Yeah.
we have to address the elephant in the room. Is his 1998 critique still relevant in today's advertising landscape?
Yeah,
Have things gotten better or worse?
that is the question.
We'll tackle those questions and more after a quick break. Okay, so, we've really unpacked a lot when it comes to Oscar Grillo's views on animation advertising and the creative process.
Yeah, we have.
But his interview is, it's over 25 years old.
Right. It's a long time,
It really makes you wonder, how much has changed and how much is still the same.
especially in advertising.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've seen this explosion
Yeah.
of digital platforms, content creation tools. Things are moving at warp speed compared to 1998.
I know, it's crazy.
I mean, think about it. Grillo was talking about, billboards on motorways.
Right.
And now we have these bite-sized ads popping up on our phones every few scrolls.
It's true. I mean,
He was already criticizing commercials for trying to cram too much in.
right.
But what would he say about 5-second unskippable ads on YouTube?
Oh, man, I can only imagine.
I know, right?
But, I think even amidst all these changes, his core philosophy still feels so relevant.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's about that delicate obligation to the viewer.
Right.
It's like a mantra for any content creator, no matter the platform.
Absolutely.
We're constantly battling for attention in this digital age.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to get caught up in the metrics and the algorithms.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to remember that, we're creating for real people.
Real people.
People with limited attention spans constantly bombarded with information. And I think Grillo would argue that it's even more crucial now to create content that respects their time and their intelligence.
Yeah, he'd probably say that in a world of endless distractions, simplicity and clarity are more valuable than ever.
Right. Less is more.
Less is more.
It's about cutting through the noise and delivering a message that truly resonates.
Totally.
And that's where I think his love of animation really shines through.
It does.
He sees it as this incredibly powerful tool for connection and communication. It can make us laugh. It can make us cry. It can transport us to other worlds.
It can challenge our perspectives, make us think differently about the world around us.
And in the hands of a skilled artist like Grillo, it can elevate even a simple commercial into a miniature work of art.
That's the beauty of animation.
Mm.
It can be both entertaining and thought-provoking, silly and profound.
So where do we go from here? Grillo's given us a lot to ponder.
He has challenged us to think critically about animation, advertising the creative process.
And I think he's reminded us that even in this fast-paced, ever-evolving world of media,
Right.
some things remain timeless.
I do.
The power of storytelling, the importance of respect for the viewer, and the enduring magic of animation.
I think the best way to honor his legacy is to approach our own creative endeavors with that same passion and dedication.
Yeah, to never settle for mediocrity, to always push boundaries.
Right.
And to remember that even a fleeting moment of animation can have a lasting impact.
And some impact.
And to always
Wow.
keep that delicate obligation to the viewer in mind. So the next time you're watching a commercial or any piece of animation, take a moment to appreciate the artistry and the craft.
Look for those subtle details, those moments of humor and humanity.
And ask yourself, does this piece respect my time?
Right.
Does it make me feel something? Does it leave a lasting impression?
Because in the end, that's what truly great animation is all about.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of Oscar Grillo.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.